Hey guys, in this lesson, we're going to look at the business model. The business model is going to outline your path from ideal to profit. And it's the heart of this course. So let's take a listen, or let's take a listen. Watch me talk about it. So first off, the business model has three parts to it. The first part is the concept. The concept simply states, what are you doing in business? The second part is marketing. Marketing is basically, how are you going to get people to know what you're doing? And the third one is sales. How are you going to convince people to buy what you're doing? So concept, marketing, and sales. These are the three major sections of your business model. So let me pause right here for a second. When I talk about a business model, I want you to think to yourself, this is kind of like a business plan, but in a more simplified version, which I feel is more useful than a business plan. I read this book called The Business Model Canvas, and it made this argument that a startup business or somebody who's just getting started, you really don't quite have a business yet. So actually doing a business plan in its full-blown session for something that's just getting started is really overkill. And so instead, they offer this concept of a business model canvas. And I'm taking a lot of ideas in that concept of more of a simplified model to kind of map out the most important parts of your business. So when we talk about a business model, this is kind of like your business plan where you're writing the answers to what's your concept, what's your marketing, and what's your sales. And this document becomes the model for your business. So let's talk more about this model. First, let's look at the concept part of the business model. So the first thing you want to write down is your problem. What is the problem someone is having? So we take a simple example, like somebody's grass is growing, the HOA is on them to get the grass cut. So they got a problem with, they need the grass cut. That's the problem they have. The next thing is, like, what's your solution to this problem? Are you going to get a lawnmower and you're going to cut the grass? Or are you going to get cows and have them chew the grass? You know, I'm being funny here, but what's the solution? What's your focused solution to that problem? I use this word focus in the sense that I want you to come up with one solution, not a whole bunch of solutions. Because remember, we're just getting started in business and we have a very clear and concise solution to the problem a customer is having. So once you know the problem that the person is having, and once you have a solution for that problem, the next question is, who is able and willing to pay to solve that problem? That's your customer. Somebody who's able to pay to get that grass cut and somebody who's willing to pay to get that grass cut. I want to pause right there for a second, because those are two different things. There are some people who are able to pay to have their grass cut or to have that solution to that problem, but they may not be willing to pay. And then there are some people who are willing to pay to have their grass cut, but they just don't have the money to do it. So your customer has to be somebody who is able to pay and willing to pay to have that problem solved. Now, what I've seen a lot through my advisement sessions when I'm working with entrepreneurs, they got this great problem, a great solution, but they got the wrong customer. They got the wrong customer in mind, because the customer they have in mind, they're not able to pay, or they may not even willing to pay. So you got to find a customer demographic that has this problem. The solution is something they want, and they're able and willing to pay for that solution. So that's what you want to write down for your customer. Now, this stuff sounds simple, but when you map it out, you see it on paper, it makes it so clear about what you're doing. Number 4, price. Now you know what the problem is. Now you got a solution. Now who your customer is. How much are you charging that customer to have that solution solved? Are you charging $100 a month to get the grass cut? Charging $25 a week to get your grass cut? Like, what's the price are you charging to have that solution, deliver that solution to your customer? Next, the marketing part of the business model has 3 parts. Attraction. Attraction simply means, what are you giving away to attract potential customers to come buy what you're doing? So let me give you an example. So say, for example, there's a donut shop, and you've never been to this donut shop, but it got this big sign up says free samples of any flavor you want. You know what they're doing? They're attracting you into their store with something free. You got to attract people. It's almost like a magnet. You got to draw people in with some type of free giveaway. This is really just the law of seed time and harvest, of sowing and reaping. You're sowing something into the marketplace, and your goal is to reap a harvest of customers, right? So you got to be able to give something away. In the coaching industry, a lot of times what the coaches will do, they may give away a free initial coaching session. You could give a free course away, something to attract customers into your business. Number 6, nurture. Just because you attract them into your business, it doesn't mean they're ready to buy what you're selling, right? So what you got to do is you got to nurture your customer. This is the process of warming up potential clients. So let me give you the example I give a lot in my marketing talks. Say there's a lady named Jill, and Jill is a young lady. She's ready to get married, and she meets this guy named John. John walks up to her and say, "Hey, Jill, will you marry me?" You know what Jill's going to say? Jill's going to say no. The reason Jill is saying no is because guess what? She doesn't know John. John hasn't done anything to warm up Jill to the idea of even marrying her. So what he's doing is he's asking her to commit to something she doesn't know any clue about yet. So the same way with your business, if you find a customer that could be a great person for your business and they have no clue about you, they're not warmed up to you, who you are, you're asking them to buy too soon. So in marketing, in this nurture phase, what you're doing is you're warming up your clients so that when you ask them to buy something, it's an easy ask because they already know, like, and trust you. So after John has taken Jill out on a few dates, met the parents, they talked about their vision, their life goals. Then at some point in the near future, John can say, "Hey, Jill, will you marry me?" Then the response could be a more likely yes, because John has warmed up Jill on the ideal of marrying him. Same thing with your business. The nurturing phase of this is where you're warming up your customers to the concept and the ideal of buying what you have. The third part is marketing, business part. It's not business part. The third part is marketing session in the business model is referrals. It's great that you got a customer, but it's even better when your customers tell other people to come buy what you're doing. And so what you want to do is you want to, in some way, intentionally encourage customers to refer other people to your business. So a while back, I used to own a self-publishing company where I would help people publish their books. And I had a way to intentionally refer people, right? I would take my current clients, and some people may not even be my clients, and I would say, "Hey, if you bring a client to me, I'll give you $50 when they buy a book publishing deal." And you know what that did? It incentivized them to refer people to my company to get their book published. So you got to incentivize people intentionally to refer people to your business. A lot of business owners think this is going to happen by chance. They just don't like me so much, they're going to tell their friends. Guess what? You need to be intentional and ask them to refer their friends and family. So in this marketing segment of the business model, attract. What are you giving away for free to attract people into your business? Nurture. Once you bring them into your space, what are you doing to warm them up to the concept of buying from you? And once they become a customer, 7, referral. How are you going to encourage them to tell other people what you're doing and get other people to come buy from you? That's the marketing side. And last, the sales part is the last part of the business model. The sales part has 2 components: persuasion, repeat. Persuasion is, what is your sales pitch? What are the words you're using or need to use to persuade somebody to buy what you're selling? We all got to get in some form of persuasion. Even Jesus, when he was on the planet, he used words to persuade people to be saved. Even ministers of gospel like myself, I have to use words to persuade people to follow Jesus, to learn about the things of God. I'm persuading people with my words. So just like me as a minister, just like Jesus as the first minister, what words are you using to persuade somebody to buy your products and service? And number 9, repeat. So this is kind of like referrals. One customer buying and telling the other person is great, is good, but a person buying multiple times from your business is even better. Repeat business. So how are you going to get your customers to buy again? Because if you got a business that you always got to find new customers, that's a hard business to be in. You need a business where the same customer needs to come back to you multiple times and buy stuff from you. I use the word need pretty strongly. It'd be great if they could, but if God gave you a business that's maybe like a one-time pass for things, I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying that the businesses that find a way for customers to come back and buy more stuff, those businesses grow much faster, right? Because they got repeat business from the same customer. It's easier to get your current customers to buy from you than find new customers. So that's the sales part of the business model. So let's do a recap here of this business model. And remember, this business model is kind of like your business plan. You're writing down the answers to these questions. The concept section, what's your problem? 2, solution, what's your solution to that problem? It's got to be very focused. 3, customer, who's your customer? Who's willing and able to pay for the solution you have? 4, price, what's the price of this particular solution? The marketing side of the business model talks about 3 things. Attract. What are you giving away for free to attract people into your business? 6, which is nurture. What are you doing to warm up people to the idea of buying from you? And 7, how are you going to get your current customers to refer other people to buy from you? And the last part of the business model is the sales area. The sales areas, you got to persuade people to buy from you. You got to find the right words to use to persuade people to buy from what you're buying from your business. And 9, repeat customers. Repeat customers are the best customers. That's part of the last part of the business model. So guys, I want you to write this out. And remember, this is not once you write down the first time, it doesn't mean this was going to be for all time, for all seasons. As we get more into this course, I'm going to talk about a process of how you use feedback and adjustment to keep fine tuning these pieces of this business model. And we're going to look at how you're going to set some goals to work on certain parts of the model at certain times. But right now in this module, I want you to just take to heart this 9 steps or these 9 questions to ask and write down about your business. And it's going to be a good guiding document to guide you in what you're doing in business. It's going to lay out a nice path from your ideal to profit.